This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Stick around till later to learn more.
Oh, man.
Woo!
What a week it has been.
It's been good. Everyone's been very kind, very accepting of other people's opinions.
That's right. That's what this week has been about. It's been about, you have a view? I welcome that.
I feel like if one thing that the internet, Twitter, and Reddit has taught us, that if you disagree with me, that's okay.
Yes.
It's all good.
I think that's why Twitter was built, so we can all agree to
Peacefully.
to disagree. That is it.
Yes.
No, but it has been a divisive week on the back of The Last of Us 2 and its review scores. Alana Pierce is a former IGN employee who is shedding some light on the fact that this game got a lot of 10 out of 10s. I watched her video and I think it has some really interesting points to make. Don't agree with all of it, but I think there's a lot of insight here that I think is worth discussing. So let's take you through it here and we can talk about The Last of Us 2, not really, because I'm kind of fucking bored about talking about that game, but reviews. We can talk about reviews.
Okay.
So yeah, Alana Pierce, if you don't know her, Charalanazard, I believe is her handle, and she's former IGN, former other websites, with Funhouse as well. I'm not sure if she's still with Funhouse now, but I know she definitely was.
I think she is. I think I've seen her recently in a Inside Gaming episode.
I think I did as well, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
So she's part of that crew, very known, very successful, very experienced. She put out a video talking about the fact that, like how 10 out of 10 scores work with video games, right? And why certain games are more likely to get 10 out of 10 scores than others.
And I think also the reviewing process in general.
Sure.
There's definitely a narrative, I think, that's out there with people that don't like how reviews are done, and they have this conspiracy theory of how it all takes place. So she wants to shed some light. At the beginning, she kind of does go into the idea of, she's been reviewing games for some time. She's worked with a few publications. She's been inside seeing how that all works. And
she also starts with the fact that it's not corrupt, or there's not like bundles of cash being like, haha, my laundry is done. Like, it's not like that. Obviously, and I think a lot of people know that instinctively. Like, it's.
I've never thought that. Like 2K, drops off a bucket of money or something.
But a lot of people do feel this way, though. A lot of people do legitimately believe that there is some sort of cash transaction that takes place. Okay, I know a lot of people say no, we don't think that. A lot of people do, man, and believe me, I spend my fucking life online being accused of being paid off. So I know it's a thing that people actually think, and the first thing she says is that, no, that's not how it works. However, there are issues built into the review process that, we are worth talking about. Anyway, let's listen to some of what she says here.
First thing that I want to talk about, to a lot of you might seem obvious, but is a thing that I notice that the internet gets confused about all the time, that has come up this week specifically. The Last of Us Part 2 is getting a lot of 10 out of 10 review scores. I do not personally agree with these scores. Frankly, I would not have given The Last of Us Part 2 a 10 out of 10.
One of the 4 people. Literally 4 people, I think, that are not praising this game. Polygon, Kotaku.
all the alt-right media. Polygon, Kotaku, and Vice. Those alt-right strongholds, they hate the game.
Exactly right.
And chill up.
The one note that keeps being brought up to me is people saying, well, it has flaws, how can it be a 10 out of 10? So if IGN is most people's go-to for scores, they do get the most traffic on their reviews historically. And obviously I can talk about IGN as I worked there as a full-time employee. Let's talk about the IGN review scale. A 10 out of 10 is not perfect. That's really it. A lot of you, again, probably already know this point, but I want to jump to it off the bat. 10 out of 10 does not mean a game is perfect. Nothing is perfect.
I think that's important because that's something, even when I was younger, I'm like, 10 out of 10, isn't that like, it's perfect, man?
Yeah, I hate this point so much.
But look,
it makes me so mad.
You do have to sit there and actually think about what is a 10.
Yes.
And I do understand the idea that nothing's going to be perfect.
Yes.
And of course, if it's a masterpiece, then is the game the best it could be for what it's trying to do in this current moment? Yes.
So many people think this, though. So many people come at me, like you said, like, if I've ever mentioned, I would give that game a 10 out of 10, they're like, well, no game is perfect, so no game could ever achieve. They say this, they're like, a 9.9 is the best a game could ever achieve, because nothing is perfect. It's like, what the hell, man? Do you know what I mean?
It's like, look, would Ocarina of Time, if it was released today in its current form, get 10 out of 10? Probably get 9.5 still. No, but you know what I mean? Like, it's at that current state of the gaming industry, what's it doing and how groundbreaking X, Y, and Z, right? So I think it's an important point because you're right. There's so many people, if they see a 10, they automatically disagree because it just goes against their own philosophy of what a review could be at 10.
So 5 is mediocre. That does not mean average. The reason that you get so many game review scores that are around the 7 range is because, frankly, most of the games that these major sites are reviewing, or major magazines or whatever are reviewing, are really fucking good. If you only play AAA games, which, let's be honest, most gamers do, then you only see the games that are getting 8s, 9s, and 10s because they are usually extremely high quality. I mean, Fallout 76 and Crackdown 3 apparently both got a 5, so that's worth noting.
I'm gonna stop you right there, Chief. Giving a Fallout 76 a 5 out of 10, I think this system is broken. Far too high. The Laymen were the very first to give the game the 0 out of 10.
0 out of 10.
It was the world's first 0 out of 10 score. We're very proud to provide that to Fallout 76.
Look, all jokes aside, I don't completely agree with this idea. I do feel like there's something to be said about if you are reviewing pretty much only AAA games, where does a 5 sit within that then? It's almost like half of the spectrum is never, ever used. So it's much better to go into a 1 out of 5 stars.
I agree.
It's probably better to do that.
I agree. I actually, at this point, kind of resigned to the 7 out of 10 is mediocre.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't like it, right? In an ideal world, if I scored video games, and if I wasn't scoring video games like with all the baggage that comes with that, I would actually just give an average game a 5. I think that makes a lot of sense. I really like that. That's cool. Yep. But you can't, because if you gave a game a 5, it's a very strong statement that this is a subpar game. A 7 out of 10 is what we all conventionally understand to be an average video game by contemporary standards. I know it's dumb. I don't make the rules. I think it's dumb. I would like it to be otherwise, but that's how it is.
I don't make the rules. I just conform to them. You know.
That is it. But I mean, like, if I was to go out and I was to like have my own scale and I am like my own number scale, it's like it just confuses audiences.
Definitely.
Like they just don't get it unless they watch me for a long period of time and they really get it. Then sure. But at the end of the time, why am I fighting that battle? If the industry understands that an average game is a 7, then that's okay. It conveys the point. You know, it is dumb, it is illogical, but it works.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
That's why I would come to the conclusion, like, if you were to revamp that, maybe just use the spectrum that you are currently using. Just drop to like between 1 and 5 stars, and then a 2 out of 5 stars doesn't feel as heavy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you're really battling the psychology of the audience, and that's what it's all about.
Sure.
You know.
Another thing that I want to talk about is Metacritic, because this is a thing that people also don't know. Metacritic doesn't actually accurately just aggregate scores. They also weight different outlets' review scores differently. So like IGN, because it is, The Guardian would be one as well, because they are considered reputable outlets, they get a higher weight.
So do you think that different outlets should be weighted differently in Metacritic, Sam?
That's an interesting question, because
that's why I asked it.
I think that if there is a weighting system, I do not believe IGN should have a extremely advantageous position in the review process.
Totally agree with that.
I think if I've been around for 2 days, I'm a new company, and I'm just throwing reviews out there, have I proven myself to the community? Have I proven myself to the audience compared to IGN and all this kind of stuff? No. So maybe they could be respected more, those reviews, but I don't think that they should get a huge leap forward in terms of determining what that number is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there should just be a straight up number. Okay, if you want to have a weighting system, I'm not sure that IGN deserves the weighting.
Yeah, I know, I'm not,
but like,
it's a bit of a meme.
But like, it is a massive meme. But like, I feel like if you just wanted to have a raw number that's like unweighted and it just reflects the facts, like the facts of all the websites, what they, and then if you want to have a weighted value on top of that, okay, whatever, sure. But I'm not sure that like a secret weighting in working in the background that people don't see is the best way for Metacritic to approach this issue. Personally, it just
gets a bit
feels
murky.
It's very murky, and it's like, well, I don't really like the track record of that publication because they said this, and that, and whatever else, and you don't really have all the facts. But I think if it's just a straight up and down number that aggregates all the actual websites, then I think that works. But anyway, that's just me.
Obviously, the public continues to have this idea that reviews are paid off, or that reviewers are giving The Last of Us Part 2 a 10 out of 10 because they don't want to be blacklisted from getting more review copies from Sony. You are not giving The Last of Us a 10 out of 10 so Sony will give you more review copies. They wouldn't do it. And the truth is, if that's a thing that you're worried about, I think that you should be getting angry at Sony and Sony PR.
Okay, so do you think that's true? Do you think that publications are not giving, don't care about the scores they give when it comes to like getting access to code?
I definitely think there's a lot of effort that goes in from the publishers and the developers to try and get the best review score that they can. Of course they want to get that. To say that they wouldn't care what the review score is, I just don't believe that to be completely true. I do feel like our own experience when we have trashed a game, not because we want to, because the audience needs to know if it's evil microtransaction bullshit or just a buggy mess.
Yeah.
That burns bridges. There's no two ways about it. Some of the people now just won't talk to us, will not send us review copy.
No.
And that's okay with me.
But okay,
you know what I mean?
We didn't get blacklisted from EA and Bethesda because of our reviews of their games. We got blacklisted from those publications because we memed the fucking shit out of them for months on end, right? We deserve that. You know what I mean? We earned that spot on the blacklist, man, right?
Totally.
So there's no hard feelings there in my view. We love to make fun of them and all that sort of shit for the blacklist spot. But in my view, we fucking earned that shit. But I don't believe they blacklisted us because of our reviews of Fallout 76 or Star Wars Battlefront or whatever else.
I think it definitely has an aspect to it. Especially Bethesda, I do feel like to an aspect, to a certain extent, when we put our reviews out, we were like, don't buy this game. I mean, they are going to be hesitant in the future to send us more copies of games. And we've seen the result of that. We didn't get Rage 2 or Doom.
But again, I don't think it was the fact that we said don't buy this game. It was the fact that we gave it 0 out of 10 and we made a joke out of it. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
As I said, we were just trying to have fun with it. And then they obviously... and I get it, do you know what I mean? If you've got an entity that is trashing you mercilessly, like we were doing at that period, you're like, well, do I want to have a relationship with these guys? And I'd be like, no, you don't, right?
I agree with that.
I get that. As I said, no hard feelings on that one.
What I'm saying is, let's say we took the memes out of it and we were just saying, straight-faced, don't play this game, don't buy this game, we think it's a bad game.
Yeah.
Do I think that, we did that consecutively with a lot of games that came out with Bethesda. Again, not because we wanted to, because it deserved those review scores.
Yeah.
Do I think that we would have got a copy of Rage 2 or a copy of Doom? I actually don't, because we weren't on their side and we weren't actually marketing their, we weren't part of their marketing cog. I mean, we were working against them,
Yeah, but I've had a lot of, so for example, Xbox, we have a really good relationship with Xbox, right? They really like us, even though we have memed the shit out of them as well.
Sea of Memes,
Sea of Memes and Minecraft Dungeons, where I recently roasted. You know what I mean?
And then we play games like Gears and Gears Tactics, and we're like, these are good games.
No, but that's my point though, right? I actually agree with what she's saying here in that I have had behind the scenes, I have had conversations with PR people where they have trashed the reviews of other people that I know, other publications, and they're like, oh, there was a shit review, and then they still give them review code. Do you know what I mean? I've had those conversations behind the scenes where PR people are venting to me about that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really believe what she's saying here about publications. Publications, I don't think are giving high scores to keep access. I really believe that.
I would agree with you. I think publications and YouTubers are going to be two separate things.
Totally agree with that.
And I think that, especially when there's a big game coming out and there may be only a few review codes in your region, and I work for a certain game company, who am I going to? I mean, we're speculating here, but who am I going to try and give those codes to?
Yeah.
I'm going to try and give them to YouTubers at least that I feel like are on my side or have a proven track record of being, on board with our company.
Yeah, I agree. I actually think that there's a big divide here between game publications and YouTubers. People think, YouTubers are the only honest people and you can trust YouTubers and whatever. I think it's actually the opposite. I think a publication has more chance of being straight up with a review score than a YouTuber. Because I feel like on YouTube, you're on your own. If your video doesn't get clicks, you're not gonna you don't pay your rent. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot more internal pressure to create something that is going to allow you to continue creating. Do you know what I mean? And so I definitely feel as though there is pressure on YouTubers, particularly smaller YouTubers, to maybe go along with what a publication might want, because they want to keep that access and they want to keep early review code and whatever else. I definitely feel like it is a corrupt system when it comes to review code access, because you're not guaranteed it all the time. And so then you just have to kind of navigate those waters.
Yeah.
There's recently a video from a guy called Ranton talking about how YouTube reviewers are corrupt. And I watched a video and I don't agree with the title because I don't think YouTubers are corrupt. I think the system is corrupt. And I think some YouTubers within that are going to be like, they're going to take their audiences for a ride, and some of them are going to do the right thing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because that's the pressure that they're constantly put under.
We should also say, like, we have gone on some of those trips.
Hell
you know?
yeah, absolutely. Sony, I've been flown overseas by, this is a true story, Bethesda, EA, Sony, Xbox.
Me too. Yeah.
All of us, yep. All four of those.
Ubi, you've been for Ubi.
Did I say you? Not you say Ubi? Okay,
No,
Ubi as well, so that's another one. Activision actually sent me to Bungie when they had that. I have been sent overseas on trips with all the major publishers, and I ended up being blacklisted with 3 of them eventually. So I'm stunned that I haven't been blacklisted by Ubi yet, but you know, that's it. So
look, we've been on those trips. We understand the schmoozing that is going on there. They naturally are spending a lot of money to put a great event on.
Yep.
You know, of course, I mean, again, this goes without saying, YouTubers also aren't getting lumps of cash, okay? We never heard of it. It's not a thing. Having said that, publications, media outlets, and YouTubers are sent to events, and I think that the actual publishers and developers are hoping that that good experience and that schmoozing will hopefully help that kind of review process, you know? It doesn't always work in their favor, though. Let's be real.
Exactly.
A lot of people that I'm sure were schmoozed over Fallout 76.
We made a video being like, I'm not sure about this. Yeah. And then when it came out, we're like, holy shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. It's like, and we're not trying to say that we're the only honest people in town, because it's not the case, right? But what I'm saying is that it is, on the YouTube side, a fraught business with regards to conflict of interest, just as it is on media, right? But I actually think it's more fraught on the YouTube side because, as I said, you're on your own, you're kind of like trying to scratch for a living. And I think as an audience, you need to understand that that system is inherently unbalanced and sort of like corrupt, for want of a better term. And I think you need to find people that you think can navigate that confidently and that are going to like do the right thing by the audience. That's my view.
It's also the other way around in terms of a YouTuber. If they don't have a relationship to try and nurture and keep alive, sometimes they'll just jump on the negatives train and go the other way.
But again, I've seen some media do that recently with The Last of Us 2, like publications. I've seen them do that too.
There's definitely a tidal wave that happens, a movement on certain games, and a public opinion can just catch hold and everyone just runs with it, you know. That definitely can happen.
This is my biggest criticism of games journalism, is that I do think in a lot of cases writers write things for their peers rather than for the audience. While that still means they're being honest, it does mean that we have all of these reviewers who, in the case of The Last of Us, are buying into high art because they're very passionate about the games industry and very passionate about storytelling in video games. That is their perspective. But it is also not necessarily the perspective that you know that most people who are going to read your review are going to share. That is a complicated topic as well. But yes, my number one criticism of games media is that I think that a lot of journalists write things for their Twitter followers who also work in the industry more so than they do for the people who read the website.
I agree with that a little bit. I think that in any art form, in any way that you're trying to review something or put an idea forward, be it make a movie or review a movie or make music or make a game or review a game, you're always going to be looking a little bit left and right at your peers and seeing what they think too of your own work.
You're going to be
That's naturally going to happen.
She's not saying that though. She's saying that people are writing their reviews for their peers, not just like, oh, I wonder what they think of that, but like they're writing it because they want to have some kind of like intellectual like dick on the table kind of. Do you know what I mean?
But I think it's the same thing in terms of you're actually just you're hoping that they approve of your work. So when you are writing that review, you know, they're in your their center of mind of wanting to impress them.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't agree with that point. Like, I mean, I don't see a huge amount of evidence that like journalists are writing for their peers. I do what she said though, that they're buying into the idea of games as high art, and they're kind of like trying to elevate the medium and whatever else. I agree with that point a lot, and I think that there's a definite bubble when it comes to video game criticism that separates them from audiences, for sure. And I'm done talking about The Last of Us, but I will say this about The Last of Us. There's going to be such a massive divide between the score that it has arrived at Metacritic, 96, and a lot of the user scores. I'm not talking about angry people, like whatever. I'm talking about actual fans of the game and what they think of it. There's going to be a massive divide there, that this game will be held up for all time as the one game that really shows the divide between critic and user. I fucking promise you this, okay? Because I really do believe that critics here have overshot the mark, and they've exposed a divide between like critic and user. You know, there is a gap there. I think The Last Jedi was another example of that gap.
Yep.
And it wasn't, you can't just say, oh, it's just angry incels. No, a lot of people didn't like The Last Jedi who aren't angry incels. They just don't like it. But the critic score doesn't reflect that, you know? I think this is the same thing is gonna happen here because it's exposed that gap.
I honestly don't know if we'll ever see a real figure of what the actual user score is. There's going to be some people on the left just giving it 10s. It's going to be people on the right giving it, 0s. That's just how it is, because people just want to make sure that
the culture war.
The culture war is a thing with this game especially, So I don't think we'll ever actually get an actual real score for this. But back to what she's saying, I do believe that in any art form, in any way that you are presenting something to an audience and your peers are watching, it has an effect on the way that you write or the way you create.
Sure, I mean, that makes sense, yeah.
But also, very important note, when I published the negative piece about Mass Effect Andromeda, you know what I was scared of, genuinely? The public. I didn't even think about EA. At no point did I think, oh no, EA is going to be mad at me if I tear this game apart. I don't care. I can also bet you that every outlet that gave this a 10 out of 10, in no part was like, Sony's gonna love us. They were probably more like, oh my god, the internet is going to fucking hate me, but I have to stick to my guns.
So this is an area that I can offer a little bit of experience in.
Yes.
When I'm putting together my Last of Us 2 review, I was like, oh my god, my next 2 weeks on social media is going to be absolute hell. I went through this with Fallout 76. I went through this with Anthem. I went through this with Destiny 2.
Anthem even? I can't remember that.
Yeah. Dude, my Anthem review was like 80% down, up, and like, I was like, there were people reacting to my Anthem video all over the internet, and I was vilified, and I've been through this before. This is the thing that I fucking hate about reviewing video games. I don't give a shit what EA thinks about my review. Because, like, whatever, man. If I lose access, I don't care, right? But it's so to just know that if you put out a take that is going to run counter to the hype narrative, that you're going to get yelled at by everyone, and the entire internet dissects everything you've ever said about any game ever to make these videos, and, like, on Twitter and Resettra threads and just, like, endless shit. Do you know what I mean? That's the hard part, that you're just like,
It's a shame that is a thing.
Totally.
Having said that, there is the other side of that it can be a force for good in terms of when a bad review is put out, or a review is put out that is half finished, for the Resident Evil 2, for instance, where they only played half of the game. I feel like the audience...
That was IGN.
IGN, sorry.
Yeah.
It is the audience, it's okay for the audience to call that out. And
sure.
Be like, you guys really got to, like, check yourselves, for a moment. Otherwise, there's no one that's actually going to be challenging their own quality of review.
It's not about. I'm happy when people call out the quality of my review, 100%, right? But it's just about the fact that right now, it's hard to just have a review that goes at all against the narrative. Like, for example, my Doom Eternal review I think is another good one, right? I'm like, I think Doom Eternal is amazing. Absolutely loved it. I had some problems with it. I didn't like the Marauder, and I thought that, like the gameplay changed a lot. Some people will like it, some people won't. That review is like so maligned online, and all these reaction videos and whatever else, and people still bring it up today. They're like, can't take you seriously after your Doom Eternal review. And it's like, dude, it's the opinion. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people didn't like the Marauder, but it's like this kind of echo chamber of social media where if you have any opinion that diverges from, here's the central narrative, then it just causes you a lot of problems. So I think I still say what I think. I still say it, like, unafraid, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that just go like, you know what? I can't be bothered. You think Last of Us is a 10? Here, take the 10, man. Just leave me alone. Just take it. Just take it.
Yeah, I do think that before we move on, it's very important to separate the two in terms of if someone online is ridiculed for the quality of their review, it's very different for, like, you think it's good, well, I think it's bad, so I'm going to attack you. I agree with that, and that shouldn't be a thing. And that probably does affect a lot of review scores, actually, especially now. Because, I mean, let's face it, 2002, when there was no Twitter, if The Edge magazine gave, a video game a bad review score, are they going to get a ton of hate? Probably not, because we didn't have the means to communicate with them back so easily.
We had mail. We had
mail. So that hate mail was a thing then.
She later goes on to talk about the fact that reviews don't really impact sales. That's true, by the way. Like, that's 1,000% true. To an extent. Like, I do believe that...
For the hardcore gamer, it probably has something. But
there's like a few percentage points, you know what I mean? It's not like going to massively tank sales and games become flops as a result of reviews, generally speaking.
If FIFA got 1 out of 10, the casuals are lining up in droves.
That's right.
Like, they don't care.
They don't care.
They don't give a shit.
So she makes one or two other good points to this, but sort of not really as relevant to the discussion that we're having here. But I really recommend checking out the video. As I said, it's Alana Pierce on her YouTube channel. Go and give her a click. Go and show her some support, because I think she raised some interesting points of discussion
and I agree with a lot of the things that she had.
Definitely.
That she did say.
Definitely. But I think my personal takeaway from this is that, like, I definitely feel like the review scene is it's an ethical minefield, for sure, right? Whether you're a publication or particularly an independent YouTuber or whatever, it's hard to navigate it. It is about access. There's publications and YouTubers, it is about access. I don't think that most people, especially the established players with big reputations, are as concerned about access as you think they are. But I'm sure a lot of the smaller ones probably are, because they're trying to get their start and they really care about that stuff. The most important thing for an audience is to find someone that you trust to navigate that minefield properly and not sell out and not lie to you or whatever else, so they keep their access. If you can find someone like that, stick with them, like the Laymen.
Like the Laymen guys.
I think it's just a case of social media amplifies our differences, and they just get put on display. Maybe we always felt this way, but now we can see it on Twitter. Hot take, guys. Hot take. That's it. Anyway, thanks very much to Alana for that video. Thank you very much for watching it. We love you guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Laymen out.
Laymen out. Whew. Man, I was just reminiscing the other day, right, about how much fun I had when I went away and all the amazing photos I took. Like, this one when I went to that castle, that was a good photo, right? Or my mate Dave, just crisp. Really, I had a great time with Dave. God, that was good. Oh, and I got the sunrise when I was in the tour bus. That's nice. Oh, and this one, but the camera moved, so that wasn't as good as the other ones. But all in all, I really enjoyed my time away. It's quite good, actually, and my camera skills I thought were fantastic.
Sam, those are the worst photos I've ever seen in my entire life. They could barely be called photos. They're like the Screaming Man, but photos.
I thought they were really good. What are you talking about?
No.
Oh, yeah, they suck. How do I get better then?
Maybe Skillshare.
That's a good idea, Ralph.
Skillshare is an online learning community that offers membership with meaning. With so much to explore, real projects to create, and the support of fellow creatives, Skillshare empowers you to accomplish real growth.
And since we can't do a lot of traveling at the moment, what better time to up your skills in all sorts of things, especially in photography? I need to do that, as well as heaps of other things on Skillshare.
You can take classes for animation, photo, and film, as well as storytelling classes and imaging editing classes and heaps of other stuff.
And look, Skillshare is incredibly affordable, okay? It's as little as $10 a month for an annual subscription. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
It does make sense.
Correct.
Very cheap. I was like, God, that is so cheap. I better check that again, everybody.
Nice, Sam.
This is not sponsored.
Great ad lib on that one.
Look, guys, click the link below. First 1,000 people are going to get a 2-month premium membership for joining Skillshare under the Laymen discount code. Check it out. Love you, appreciate you, and we will see you guys very soon. And also Skillshare, thank you very much for sponsoring the video. See you guys soon. Laymen out.